Okay, now that's interesting. You're looking at a picture of Bella, and I can understand you're getting some kind of intuition about Bella herself, but how are you getting intuition about the man?
Well, because I'm going to turn the picture towards you.
Okay,
Okay.
I see it.
And I'll take my little pointer. And you see in here,
I do.
for me, there is an image of a man in here. I know you can't see it,
You're right, I can't.
but I can.
You're talking the middle to the upper far left of this image. There's nothing there. It looks to me like some kind of fake backdrop of trees, maybe a forest or something.
Yeah.
And you say there's a man standing there, or what?
That's how I see it.
You're drawing it?
I'm just going to do my rough drawing.
Okay, you're using an Apple Pencil on your little iPad there, and let's have a look at what you've got.
Can you see my image?
I can absolutely see your image. You've got the head and the body really on the far left side of the image and slightly near the, well, almost at the top. The head is almost at the top. Wow. That's very good, Darcy. You haven't done that before.
Welcome to Seeing Dead People, the slow burn storytelling podcast where our host, Nicola, challenges her psychic friend Darcy to communicate with the dead and unravel historical ghost stories, unsolved true crime mysteries, and all things paranormal. If you want to be spooked, amazed, and entertained, stick around for an astonishing, deep dive convo with the spirits on the other side. Radio Sydney presents episode 41, Death on a Country Lane.
This afternoon, Darcy, we're heading once again to the old country, to an English county located almost directly north of London called Leicestershire. So let's just get geographically comfortable. Have a look at our first photo. I hope you've been able to download them.
I've opened the first one, yep.
Great, and it's a classic looking screenshot from Google Maps. It's of England, where you see our red pin dot marking our general location, kind of in the heart of England.
Yep.
Any early thoughts?
Well, I'm going to go with the usual murder and mayhem.
Yeah, I've got to find things that aren't murder and mayhem sometimes just to throw you off.
Yes.
Well, then we'll move a little bit closer by zeroing in a little closer map-wise. In map number 2, you'll see by the red pin dot now that we're zeroing in on a rural area, really in the heart of England, near the city of Leicester. Any hints coming from your spirit guides as we look at the location, which is Galby Lane and Houghton Lane in, well, a place actually called Little Stretton, but it doesn't say so. There it is, a little bit on the left on the map.
I'm going to say, I'm not sure there's more than one female dead, but at least one female.
Okay, all righty. Well, we're going to now dive into photo number 3 into an area called Little Stretton. Now we're talking rural lanes, Darcy, green and pleasant farmland dotted here and there by tiny cottages and small clusters of homes. Our date is July 5th, 1919, 8 months after the armistice signed in the previous November to end the Great War. At this point, the locals were rebuilding their lives, confident in the future and comforted by a returning sense of quiet and peace and safety. So if you can see on our map, I've got Galby on the upper right and Little Stretton on the left in Leicester, England. And this is where our circumstances take place. Are you getting any more tinglings?
Again, female dead. I'm not sure if she's been shot, but I keep hearing a gun.
Okay, all righty. Well, it's about 9:30 at night, and a local farmer stumbles across an extremely distressing scene, initiating a chain of events that will shock and darken this small area for many years. So if you have a look, you'll see I've drawn that line between the two key areas. Yep. Now, I know it's a plain Google map, but I'm just curious. After our last discussion about sailing into oblivion, the mystery of the SS Mary Celeste, you were able to find out some really cool things from the map. You said you actually could turn it into a sort of a 2D level and see the ship. And I'm just wondering, can you see anything on this flat green little map of Little Stretton to Galby?
Well, other than maybe a farmhouse and a cross street, other than that, that's all I'm picking up.
Okie dokie. Well, our farmer found sprawled awkwardly in the dirt of a dark, lonely country lane a body of a young woman with an abandoned bicycle lying nearby. He discovered that her face was bloodied and badly damaged, and tragically, she was dead. So you're right about female being dead. So if you look at photo number 4, we'll just give you, that gives you the sort of the exact location of where this body was found, just in the area of Little Stretton. Now you know where she was found, Darcy. Anything else cropping up?
Okay, so I'm going to take it this is a country road.
It is.
Okay, because I noticed that Gartree Road comes down to a T intersection, which is what I was seeing. So I'm wondering, she came from, okay, I'm geographically challenged.
Me too.
So if we were to go up to, so I'm looking at the map.
Yep.
Where the body is. So to my left, she must have come down that way.
Okay, can you read the street name? We have.
I got Gartree Road.
That's the street she was found, or the lane she was found.
She was found on, but I think she might have come down Gaulby Lane.
Galby.
And then cut down and down.
Okay, so you're thinking she came from, if we look at the map, the upper right part of the map where Galby. Okay, cool.
Wouldn't it be my upper left?
Little Stretton is on the left, and Galby's on the right. So are you going towards Little Stretton, or are you going towards Galby on the right?
Little Stretton.
Okay.
I feel like I was coming from there, maybe headed to Galby, but somehow I feel like I went a different route.
Okay. All right. Well, thinking that this young woman was a victim of some kind of traffic accident, the farmer hotfoots it to the nearest police station and finds PC Alfred Hall. Hall contacts the local doctor, and the three head out before midnight to the scene. After an initial examination of the body and the surroundings by candlelight, let's remember it's 1919, so they might have had some rudimentary flashlights and candles, the doctor agreed with the farmer's instinctive theory, fairly certain that the woman had been injured in a simple biking accident and had died from a resulting wound. Any idea of how she might have died, Darcy, and where that wound might have been?
Okay. First, just out of curiosity, are there any dogs, do you know, around this area?
There probably are, but not in our story.
Okay, because I can hear the Baskerville hound.
Yeah.
I actually think she was shot and brought to this spot.
Okay. Interesting. Well, the doctor found that she had died as a result of a head wound, but felt it was a traffic accident. PC Hall conducted a more thorough search, and despite the poor lighting, discovered something very odd. He found blood spatter on a nearby farm gate. So she'd fallen on this country lane just in front of this farm gate, but there was no sign of human footprints on either side of the gate, but there's blood on the gate. He also found a dead crow in the field nearby. So given that the doctor thought this was a sad but not criminal case of death, they took the body of the young woman by horse cart, believe it or not, to a local abandoned cottage. There, Hall and the farmer laid her body onto the cold kitchen floor and left her in the never-ending darkness by herself, waiting to be picked up by her relatives in the morning. But something wasn't right. At least that's what haunted PC Hall. Any idea, Darcy, before I go ahead, as to what PC Hall's next steps might have been?
If I was him, I would have retraced my steps, either looked at her a little closer or gone back to where the crime happened.
And why are you saying that?
Because what I feel is that this isn't adding up to that simple conclusion.
Okay.
It doesn't feel right, because if she was going from her place to, say, family, okay, and she ended up in that, like I said, it feels like there's a zigzag as to where she is, then how did she get there? And in the dark.
Okay, all good questions. Well, PC Hall did exactly what you suggested he should have done. He returned bright and early the next day at 6 a.m. to examine the scene more closely and deliberately. and he found some strange things. He discovered bloody bird tracks going multiple times from where the body had lain near the gate and from the body spot where the body lay to the gate. So the bird went back and forth to the gate. No sense necessarily there, but that's what he found. And you'll remember the night before he did find blood on the gate and a dead crow. But that wasn't the big news. Not by a long shot, if you'll excuse the pun, because the young constable's diligence was rewarded as he found a .455 caliber bullet in the mud about 17 feet from where the young woman fell. It was the type of bullet used by the Webley service revolver provided to members of the British forces. So P.C. Hall, quick as he was, immediately sprinted off to the cottage where the poor woman lay cold, still locked in rigor mortis by herself. Hall wiped her bloody face and found a single entry wound just beneath her left eye. So, once the doctor was informed of this new element, he conducted a proper autopsy. The result? The young woman had been shot once, struck just below her left eye, from a distance of roughly 6 feet, say the doctor. The bullet had exited from the back of her skull. So, what does that mean then, Darcy?
That she was shot in. Yay, I'm right.
Exactly. Yay, you're right. She was shot, and it wasn't an accident. It was most likely to be murder.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the dead woman was soon identified by her frantically worried family as Annie Bella Wright, known as Bella. So let's meet Bella Wright in photo number 5.
Well, she's very pretty. I would say I love her hat. It's very simple.
It is simple, but it's very striking, isn't it?
Yeah. And so she's a southpaw.
Looks like it. Very good.
And I don't know, she comes across as very kind, single. So I'm going to think she's single.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And maybe looking probably for love. You know that old song, looking for love in all the wrong places.
Of course, yep.
So it's a man. He's about 5'7" to 6 feet, give or take, slender. Should have darker hair. Looks like he parts it to the side. I'm not sure if he was actually. So that would have been about the time that soldiers were coming home from war, right?
Yep, a little bit after that. The war ended in November 18, and this is July 19. Yep, so they are probably still filtering home.
So either she is writing a sweetheart, or she's meeting someone she thinks could be a sweetheart.
Okay, now that's interesting. You're looking at a picture of Bella, and I can understand you're getting some kind of intuition about Bella herself, but how are you getting intuition about the man?
Because I'm going to turn the picture towards you.
Okay.
Okay.
I see it.
I'll take my little pointer. And you see in here.
I do.
For me, there is an image of a man in here. I know you can't see it.
You're right, I can.
But I can.
You're talking the middle to the upper far left of this image.
Oh, look. Yeah, look where I put all the squiggly lines.
There's nothing there. It looks to me like some kind of fake backdrop of trees, maybe a forest or something.
Yeah.
And you say there's a man standing there, or what?
That's how I see it.
You're drawing it?
I'm just going to do my rough drawing.
Okay, you're using an Apple Pencil on your little iPad there, and let's have a look at what you've got. Because we have Bella, who's wearing a very striking sort of black shirt with a white collar, a nice floppy hat. She has very dark eyes, dark hair, kind of a determined looking gal, attractive, as you say.
Yes. Can you see my image?
I can absolutely, hang on, I'm just going to take a screenshot of that. I can absolutely see your image. You've got the head and the body really on the far left side of the image and slightly near the, well, almost at the top. The head is almost at the top. Wow. That's very good, Darcy. You haven't done that before.
No, because normally I don't have this iPad out that I can use.
Oh, we should try to keep you having it. Okay. Well, Bella left home around 6:45. She lived in Stoughton, which, if we remember the map in your mind,
Yeah.
we had Galby on the upper right and Little Stretton on the left. Stoughton would be farther left and a little higher up. Okay. She was
Okay.
going to bike the 4 miles from Stoughton to visit her uncle at Galby. Now, taking a bike for her was very typical. She was a confident 21-year-old. She was breaking free from her limited background. She was a daughter of an illiterate agricultural laborer, but she was on the verge of true independence, something that was kind of almost impossible for young women of her class before the Great War. I'm going to give you a sense of her route. So let's look at photo number 6. You'll see now we have on the upper, and I'll get you to describe it for us, upper left to cross to the right and then down to where she was found. So
there
can
it
you
is.
read that for us?
Okay, so from going down Galby Lane from
Yep.
her home at 6:45, she bikes to her uncle's in Galby. 8:50 p.m. I'm going to guess she left,
Yep.
and then it looks like she went down Great Glen Road. It says Bella's presumed return route,
Yep.
and to where they found her on Gartree. And it says meet young man.
Yes, she met a young man near her uncle's place in Galby. Now, biking that route would have taken her about 30 minutes, so she might have got to her uncle's place at around 7:15 or so, maybe a little longer because she met somebody. The bike for her was a tremendous gift because it allowed her to get a job. She worked in a rubber factory in Leicester, so only 5 miles away. She was able to bike to work, and she loved her local countryside, so often biked on her own. It wasn't unusual that she biked on her own. P.C. Hall and his colleagues looked around, talked to witnesses, and found that Bella had been seen riding with a young man, described as between 35 and 40 years of age, with a broad, full face, between 5'7" and 5'9" in height. He was wearing a gray suit, gray matching cap, collar and tie, topped off by black boots. No one else was seen in the vicinity during the time frame. Now, this young man, 35, I guess we can call him middle to young man, was seen not only accompanying Bella to her uncle's, he was seen rejoining her upon her departure around 8:50. So, we have to deduce, Darcy, that this unknown bicyclist had cooled his heels, or should I say, spun his tires, for over 2 hours, possibly, just so he could meet up again with our lovely young Bella.
Wow.
Now, another key element of great import, as we'll discover later, is that our Keener rode a distinctive pea green colored bike with an unusual custom ordered back brake. Now, the vast majority of bikes in those days were black. So, as we find out from the witnesses, they say the unusual bike really stuck out. They noticed the bike, they noticed Bella, and they noticed him riding together. The mysterious death of young Bella Wright caused a sensation throughout Britain because they determined she had been shot. Everybody wanted to know how the 21-year-old actually died and who was this man that was biking with her, and no one knew his name, couldn't find him. So despite being front page news, a topic of gossip, extensive appeals throughout the land for many weeks, no one ever came forward or was identified. Any thoughts at this point, Darcy?
Well, obviously, if it was an accident, he's probably afraid he'll be charged with murder. But see, I'm not picking up crime of passion.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just not picking it up. I'm not feeling like he shot her because she wouldn't be with him. I feel like it's possibly an accident.
Okay. Well, that's interesting that you don't feel that passion level. Well, an inquest was finally held and returned a verdict, not surprisingly, they say, murder by person or persons unknown. So, for some reason, an accident got forgotten and murder was the number one thing that they thought had happened.
But yeah, because no one stuck around to say this was an accident.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a suspicion right then and there that
Yes.
something, untoward happened. At her funeral, the vicar of St. Mary's and All Saints asked attendees to reflect on this poor girl, he kept calling her, who had been taken from them. With the promise of independence and a better life snuffed out, 21-year-old Bella was buried on July 11th in her hometown of Stoughton. Hundreds attended, and many more mourned her loss. Then, sadly, the pursuit of justice just stalled,
Okay.
as the case of Bella Wright's death on the country lane went cold. So, what do you think happened next?
How long had it been cold for?
Well, we're going to say it's cooling now for months, shall we say.
Okay. Well, I definitely would have thought she's gone on the back burner, but were they able? I sort of feel like someone's scrambling because they either found something else, heard something, but I feel like someone's scrambling or they got a letter saying what happened.
Okay, keep that letter thought for later. That's really interesting. When you say someone's scrambling, who's the someone scrambling?
This could be either the gentleman who shot her. Okay, so here, even though I say I don't feel the crime of passion, I still feel like there's a little malice in it.
Malice, do you? Okay. Oh, that's
Okay.
interesting.
But I would say that maybe the police officer, PC, whatever his name was,
Paul. Yeah.
Paul, may be looking more into it.
Okay, well, as they say, bodies never stay buried, and something will always turn up. 7 months later, on a chilly February morning, a barge snagged onto something in Leicester's River. It's called Soar, as in SOAR, unusual name. And what did we have? A pea green bike frame, lacking the wheels, the seat, and handlebars, just the frame. Most of the serial numbers were filed off, but the bike company that made the bike was able to identify the bike and the seller. So have a look at photo number 7.
Ah,
Bike frame.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
More-
definitely been mangled, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Whatever was, I guess, cut apart and chucked into the river. More dragging of the river led to the discovery of a holster. Also found was a box of the same .455 caliber bullets as the one PC Hall found in the mud. The local bike seller kept excellent records and offered up the name of a 34-year-old former soldier and math teacher named Ronald Light. Later, the holster found in the water was also traceable back to Ronald. So, what do you think happened then?
Well, I would go and look for Ronald.
Yeah, not surprisingly, Ronald Light was found. He was teaching mathematics in another county. He was arrested and charged with Bella's murder. Now here, Darcy, I'm going to give you a big challenge. I've got 3 black and white pics of 30-something aged men, but only one has relevance to this story. I'm not going to reveal which photo is our accused murderer, Ronald Light, until you've seen them all.
Okay.
So I caution you not to necessarily decide until you've seen all 3. But
All right.
look at photo number 8. Could you describe this photo for us, the person in it, and tell us, is this Ronald Light?
Do you, when you say like, you mean like Like?
No, his last name is Light. Light.
Oh, light.
As in, let there be light. Ronald, let there be light.
So, okay, picture number
8.
8.
Can you describe this young man?
Very distinguished, handsome looking hair, back, very clean. Like, I would have thought he was younger than 34, 35.
Okay.
Nice suit, tie, the high collar shirt. Very nice looking.
Right. Okay. So hold on to that thought in your mind, whether he is our murderer or not, our accused murderer or not. So that's, that's behind door number 1, bachelor number 1, photo number 8.
Okay.
Okay. Bachelor number 2, if I can use that euphemism, is photo number 9. We have a gentleman in that photo. Would you talk about this gentleman?
Well, again, I would have put him a little older than 35.
Okay.
He seems to stand out a little, like a 3D picture almost.
See that? You're right, it does.
Looks like he's got either a twisted tooth or something. The other guy, oh, well, you can't see his teeth, but this guy's got more wrinkles. His hair is combed to the side, like what I suggested.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Okay.
Right.
He's nicely dressed. Looks like he's got a little gray going on. Nice smile.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. And then our last possibility in photo number 10. Can you tell us about this gentleman?
Okay. Deep set eyes. Again, not bad looking. Mustache. Hair parted in the middle. It's a real toss up. Again, nice suit and everything. He's got more of a serious jaw.
Okay.
You know, probably a teeth muncher. In other words, he grinds his teeth.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to go back.
Yep. So you've got 8, 9, and 10.
Okay. Just give me a minute.
Yep. Take your time and see if Ronald Light jumps out at you.
Okay. I'm going to roll out number 8.
Okay.
All right. Number 9, 3D effect.
Yeah.
I think that might be my choice.
Okay.
Just a minute. I need to look at, the 3D effect. He's the only guy that stands out in the picture.
Well, congratulations, Darcy. And say hello to Ronald Light. You nailed him.
You can see how he stands out compared to the other two, right?
I can, but I mean, that's just the way the photograph is. But for you, it means a lot more. For me, it was just a more of a in-depth kind of photograph that he does stand out.
Yeah. I would go with him because the other two are just flat on the page.
Wow. And it's interesting. I just scoured the net for photographs of, middle-aged, youngish men from English backgrounds around the 1920s, just trying to get some public domain shots of men to give you choices. So it's really interesting that you would nail the guy who is Ronald Light. So well done. Okay, so who is this Ronald Light character? Well, his father was rich, not from birth, but from his own brains and effort. And Ronald and his mom and dad lived in an upscale home in the nearby city of Leicester. Unfortunately, spoiled Ronnie grew up a huge disappointment to his doting parents. Can you look at that photo number 9? Can you get a better sense of the person now?
Okay. When you look at him, I would have said philanderer, he hides behind his smile.
Ah.
Okay, so all his anger is behind that smile. But he also seems like he would be a very interesting person to have a conversation with.
Oh, why do you think that?
Because of the way his face looks. The other two, he's approachable. That's probably why she even was with him, because he was approachable. Whereas with the other two, they come across as starchy.
Yes, okay, standoffish, yep.
He's approachable. He's like one of those people you can see with the beer glass, and you can see him with the beer glass, the cigarette, and talking people up.
Do you get any sense of darkness with this man?
All the energy around him would be darkness. And maybe that's why he's sort of interesting. We all like the bad boys.
Well, when you say all the energy around him is darkness, what do you actually mean? What are you actually feeling and seeing as a result of that?
It's like little swirls. Think of little tornadoes, and they're swirling around him.
Oh, okay. So if he were a nice guy like photo number 8, there's no swirls of energy around photo number 8?
Oh, number 8 has nice, calm, green energy all around him.
Oh, okay.
Number 10.
Yep.
I don't know if I'd want to piss him off.
Oh, yeah. He does have a sort of a serious strike to him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But you're saying number 9 has got a turbulent look of energy.
But that look is what would draw he would even draw my attention.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a twinkle there, a little mischievous twinkle. Yeah, okay. Well, Ronald had a troubled past, including being expelled from school for lifting a little girl's clothes over her head, attempting to seduce a 15-year-old, and admitting to improper behavior with an 8-year-old. Now, I don't know how old he was at that time, but he wasn't stupid. He graduated from the University of Birmingham as an engineer, but he definitely was disturbed. And in 1914, he was fired from a job as a draftsman, then accused of setting a fire and of drawing indecent graffiti. More successes to make his poor parents proud. He even had a murky history with the British Army. He enlisted at the outbreak of the First World War, was commissioned as a second lieutenant with the Royal Engineers, not surprising, but deployed on the Western Front, but resigned his commission at the commander's suggestion. Don't know why that happened, but I'd like to know. Returned to the ranks as a gunner, was court-martialed in 17 for forging his orders. After 3 years of active service, he was sent home to live with his mother, suffering from shell shock, or nowadays we would call it PTSD, partial deafness, and underwent psychiatric treatment. Sadly, his father died in the fall of 1916 of an accident or suicide. Some said it was due to his crippling disappointment in his only child. So back to the investigation at hand. Initially, Ronnie denied owning the bike or even meeting Bella, but witnesses easily identified him as the man they saw accompanying her, and he signed a receipt for the unusual green bike. So let's look at photo number 11, which admittedly is quite similar to our early image number 6,
Yes.
which shows our now familiar map of Little Stretton and outlining Bella's final bike route. You can see here, I've now indicated key time frames and events, along with the stages of Bella's biking route. So if you would please, forgive me, bike us along this route while mentioning these key time frames and anything that comes to you, so our listeners can have a deeper understanding of Bella Wright's last ride.
All right. At 6:45 p.m., Bella Wright meets Ronald Light. Number 2, Bella leaves Ronald, visits her uncle, which is at Gulby.
Yep.
So at 8:50, I take it that's the time she leaves her uncle's.
Yep.
Meets Ronald again. Then on number 4 there, Ronald leaves Bella, which I don't think he did.
Okay.
And what's interesting is given how dark it would have been at that time of night, why should we be going down that way?
Well, that's a good point, Darcy, because it was considered to be an unusual route.
Yeah, because she would have just gone back the way she went up
Stretton Road.
Stretton Road.
Yep.
So go to the right of the fork. Again, the fork, I'm sort of thinking she might have been dead there.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And then, or they may have left her bike and moved on down. Okay, but I'm not feeling 2 bikes. I don't hear 2 sets of bikes riding.
All right.
And then it's not that far that he can walk back in the dark and got his bike.
No, it isn't that far. It's only probably a couple of miles.
Because it doesn't make any sense the route they're taking, because number 5, Bella's body is found by Gartree Road.
Yep.
And it just, the route, short of him pulling his gun at number 4 and making her go down there, which could have happened, but I keep feeling like he's saying that he was just showing her the gun. It went off accidentally. And it may have truly gone off accidentally, but I would also say that maybe given his history, he also had devious plans in mind, and she may not have been into it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I like all those possibilities and that explanation, thanks. Ronald Light went on trial in Leicester in June 1920. His mother had money, and he was defended by one of the great barristers of the time, a man called Edward Marshall Hall, who eventually became a Sir. The public, interestingly enough, liked Ronald. He was well-spoken, he was calm, he had money, he had sort of a class status. The prosecution's version of events was that Bella Wright rejected Ronald's pushy advances and raced down this Glen Road to have Ronald follow her. There, in frustration over this lower class woman's rejection, Ronald shot her with his revolver. That's the idea from the prosecution.
Okay.
The police had discovered that, in fact, he had harassed 2 young girls earlier that day. Yet, for some reason, and he was incredibly lucky as a result of this, his past sexual harassment history wasn't revealed at the trial. So during the trial, Ronald did something very daring and very unusual. At his own insistence and with his lawyer's agreement, he took the stand to testify in his own defense. He was dressed smartly, he spoke well, confidently, he didn't contradict himself despite being cross-examined for 5 hours, and he quickly became the darling of the press and the public. Faced with the evidence against him, Ronald had no choice but to cave in. He calmly admitted he was the man with Bella that fateful night. He claimed he initially met her because she'd broken down. Her bike had had something wrong with it. He saw her at the side of the road, struggling to fix the bike. He claims to have fixed it, then accompanied her as she continued to ride to her uncle's cottage in Galby. He said yes, he'd waited for Bella near her uncle's cottage. He rejoined her briefly before leaving her and biking straight back home to Leicester. Now, he admits later he tossed his precious bike, holster, and bullets into the river and sold the clothes he wore that day, all in a panic, when he learned Bella was deceased, and he knew he was going to be targeted for that. Oddly enough, the whereabouts of his Webley service revolver was never established. He claimed he left the gun in France, but that was disputed. Now, the barrister, Edward Marshall Hall, had a brilliant defense. He didn't challenge any witness. He immediately accepted that Ronald was the man on the green bike with Bella. He claimed Ronald Light's only bad act was that he didn't come forward. He was cowardly when he learned of Bella's death. So yes, he was guilty of cowardice, but no, he was not guilty of killing Bella. He continued to say that the prosecution's case only held together if the murder was premeditated. But Bella told her uncle that night she had never met Light before until that evening. So how could the event have been planned? Therefore, the barrister said it was not possible that it could have happened as a murder. So let's have a look at this great famous lawyer, barrister, in photo number 12. What do you think of him?
I like him.
He's known as the Great Defender. Here he is with the, looks like the robes and headgear of a judge, but I don't know that he was ever a judge.
No, but he's very smart. You can see intelligence, and just like, to him, he is going to fight for his client no matter what, whether he's guilty or innocent. It doesn't matter, because once he puts on those robes, that's his job.
Wow. Well, that's exactly what he did. He defended a lot of interesting characters in his lifetime. And as I say, was really considered to be the greatest barrister of the time.
Well, yes, and the money was always good.
And I'm sure the money was really good. Yes. I mean, as I said, Ronald Light's dad had a lot of money from his own business. And having died, his mother had it and was able to fund this very expensive barrister. So Marshall Hall focused on Ronald's lack of motive, stressing that Ronald and Bella were strangers, that she hadn't been robbed, she hadn't been attacked, nor had she been sexually assaulted. So he also highlighted there were no witnesses to the actual event, and the size and condition of the bullet found by P.C. Hall was troubling. He believed a .455 caliber bullet was too large. If it was fired at such close range, it would have caused a much greater wound. He posited this idea that the bullet was fired from a rifle, which was technically possible, not typical, but you could have fired it from a rifle. And that Bella's death was just from misadventure caused by a careless hunter who perhaps didn't even realize he'd struck her. So what do you think of that, Darcy, before we get to the verdict?
Colorful. colorful jargon that has no truth or substantial evidence.
So you can see why he is a well-respected
Yes, absolutely.
character. Okay. So you think what happened then?
I think that Ronald may have used his pistol to coerce her into going into a different direction, thinking that he was maybe going to get lucky. And I think that he intended all along that even if he did, that pistol was there for a reason, because why pack it?
Well, you had said earlier that he had, angry, swirling energy around him, but you hadn't a sense that he was necessarily going out with intent, but then you came up with a thought of malice. So
Yeah.
are you growing more informative on Ronald?
I am going to stick with the malice because I think he intended to do something, and at the end of it, it was truly an accident.
Okay. So tell us how then, what you see the actual sequence of events were when they left the uncle's house at what it was 8:45 or something at night.
Well, I think as they drove down and when they got to the fork in the road, because that fork in the road at the beginning seemed to be important,
Yeah.
that she would have normally gone that way as the quickest route home.
Right.
And he, to me, would have pulled the gun. It is feasible if her bike broke down, it broke down again. And then he took her on his own. And at the end of the day, when she refused, at 6 feet away, so that would be almost as tall as I am if I'm on the floor, he had to point at maybe, just maybe, he was shooting at that crow that was dead in the field to, show off.
Okay, and he struck her.
And he struck her by mistake.
So, okay, well, we're all over the map here. I want to ask you bluntly, did Ronald Knight have malice in his heart with an intent to kill Bella Wright?
No, he had malice in his heart with the intent to get farther than first base. The killing was an accident.
Okay. What do you think the jury said?
Not guilty.
Why do you say that?
Because the lawyer did such a good job that even I would have said not guilty. There's reasonable doubt.
Okay, fair enough. They only deliberated for 3 hours, coming back with not guilty. And the place cheered. The public was thrilled that Ronald Knight was set free. So what do you think happened to Ronald Knight after that?
Well, if I was him, I would have disappeared. I think he lived in the limelight for a little bit, but I'm not feeling his energy anywhere. So either he left or he just kept a low profile after that.
Okay, well, he changed his name eventually, not eventually, relatively soon after, led a new life, mostly in Kent, another county, until he died without children at age 89. So I've got another photo of him. I just thought it might give you a little more information. If you could look at photo 13, you can see our mischievous man there now with a cap on and a cigarette. What do you think of Ronald Knight in this image?
Okay, just a minute. I have to reopen it. But before I go to that image,
okay.
Remember earlier I said that there may have been a letter or something that explains what happened? Does that have a play here?
It does have a play. We're not there yet.
Okay. In number 13, oh yeah, he looks a little disgruntled now. From his first, I'm happy and I can do whatever I want. Now it's like, I don't look at me sideways, because if you do, I'll take your leg off.
So if I'd shown you image 13 in place of image 9,
oh, he still stands out.
You would have really picked him then?
I would have picked him then. I had to go back and forth to look at them. But again, if you look at this image, he's 3D to me.
Do you? Okay. And is this the fellow who is hiding up in the upper left of that image?
This guy, yes.
This guy, yes, that is the guy. Wow. Okay, well, do you think that's the end of this slippery tale?
No.
Okay, well, there is another theory that's being tossed about, Darcy.
Really?
Given the evidence of the small bullet hole under Bella's eye, the blood on the gate, near where she fell and the dead crow found a few yards away, it's been suggested that a negligent hunter took a shot at the crow as it sat on the gate. And the bullet, much like the magic bullet in the JFK killing, went through the crow and Bella, killing them both.
But the gate was behind her.
I think so. So I think the bullet struck her first and then the crow. What you're saying?
Yeah.
So that presumably the hunter would have seen her in his sights.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. That isn't given much credence in the realm of the criminal investigations, but it's been tossed as an idea that somehow, because what was that dead crow doing there? What was the blood doing on the gate when she had been killed? Those kinds of a little bit of unusual elements that no one seemed to be able to understand.
Okay, but let me do this, because I used that scenario saying it was him. But the bullet was found where she died, wasn't it?
Yeah, just about 15 feet away from her. Yeah. In the mud, not in the field.
Yeah, that's just it. Because when I'm thinking about it, if it went through her, then it should have gone through the crow, at which point maybe the crow would still be having the bullet, but it wasn't.
I guess it's possible that a crow was flying and the hunter took a shot at a crow in flight. And that just happened to be when Bella passed behind it.
Yeah, no.
Well, as I said earlier, something always turns up. And you mentioned it right from the top. You mentioned something about a note. So before I tell you any more, can you just tell us again what you think this note might be about?
About what happened.
Okay. All righty. Well, you're very close there. What do you think the note says?
Okay, well, I'm not looking at it. I'm still looking at number 13.
Okay, good.
I would tell you that based on him, he once again probably tried to say it was an accident, that she wasn't meant to be hurt, and that funny, because if he's true to form, he'd blame the victim, as in it was her fault that it went off. And that's when he ran and panicked.
Okay. Well, I'd like you to read us the note, which is I've got in photo number 14.
Okay. I did shoot the girl, but it was completely accidental. We were riding along quietly. I had my revolver in my raincoat pocket, and we dismounted for her to look at it. I had no idea there was a loaded cartridge in it. Her hand was out to take it when it went off. She fell and never stirred. I got on my bicycle and rode away. So impassionate.
Yeah, really, isn't it? Now, this was an apparent confession by Ronald Light, which recently, if you can believe it, this is 1919, so we're 100 plus years past. It recently surfaced in the Leicester Police Archives. This note.
No way.
Yes, wait. Now, admittedly, its authenticity and veracity are in question, but it's tantalizingly possible because there's a thought that Ronald Light made this admission at the trial, just after the trial, to someone fairly high up in the police station who took down the note, typed it out. It's not signed by Ronald, but it is typed and with his name, I believe, on it. So it was a discussion, and Ronald said, this is the theory, if this comes public, I will deny everything about it. The case was over. He had been let free. He'd been determined not guilty. So at the time, this evidence was considered inadmissible and was filed away.
Yeah, because you can't be retrialed for something you've been already subject to unless they could find a different way to retrial you.
Yeah, and they weren't going to give that a try, I guess. So do you believe this note?
Yeah, because that's what I said way at the beginning.
Yep. Okay, so you feel that, in fact, Ronald Light went through the whole trial, did his thing, and then afterwards he actually made this confession.
Yeah, I can see that. And he probably made the confession even to his solicitor, but that's private client information.
Yeah.
I do believe that it happened like that, that it was, he didn't directly intend to murder her. It was a prop.
Do you think when they were riding home and they came to that fork in the road where Bella should have taken the right-hand fork and gone along Stretton Road and just gone home to continue her wonderful life, hopefully, that he made a move and she got frightened and pedaled away, and that's how she headed down what we would consider to be the wrong road?
Yeah, it could be that, because if she knew, let's say she knew the area better than he did.
Absolutely.
Let's say she knew it and she went down there and thought she could get away from him, but I don't think she stood a chance to get away from him. Not especially if her bike had already had a mechanical problem with it. But I also stand to the fact that I do believe he may have used the gun to get her to take a different route with the intention.
Okay, so you feel he threatened her, pushed her to go in another way so that he was possibly going to rape her.
Yes.
Then what happened? He didn't rape her.
She may have tried to fight him, because, back then they wouldn't have looked. But I think that, see, this is what it feels like. Is she's trying to get away. He gets off his bike. He turns and fires. He's not knowing what he's going to hit.
Why does he do that?
Scare her off. Warning. This is what could happen to you if you tell anyone. Okay,
well then his confession is a lie then. He didn't have the revolver in his raincoat pocket and had her dismount to look at it. She didn't put her hand out to take it.
No, I don't feel that.
Okay.
His confession is right, but yes, it's also wrong, but he's put it to how he wants it seen. It's still truly, I don't think he intended to kill her. Right
okay.
Now, I don't feel that. Other things, yes, but I really don't think he intended to kill her.
Okay, and you're saying, and you had said earlier, that he's the kind of person who would put the guilt onto someone else, not take responsibility. And that's exactly what he did here. He admits he accidentally shot her, or she was accidentally shot, but he's blaming her for the fact that the gun went off.
Yes.
So that falls in line with what you said about him.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, that's the end of our tale of the tragic and early death of a young woman on a country lane. And it seems, Darcy, that in almost all of the investigation and the trial, that the vibrant, active, and gutsy Bella Wright was almost forgotten.
Yes.
And add further insult, it seemed she was considered at the time less than, because she was just a factory girl, poor girl, as the vicar called her, from a lower class than Ronald Light. And in fact, proof of this disturbing conclusion arises from the fact that her family couldn't afford a tombstone.
Yeah.
So she lay in the ground unmarked until the 1980s.
And someone gave her a tombstone?
Yep, someone gave her a tombstone with her name on it.
Nice.
To honor her. Yeah, exactly. Nice. So, and I don't think it was Ronald Light.
No, me neither.
Done it, the little bugger.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done, Darcy. That was very interesting today. You, off the top, quickly got to two, I think, interesting points. Number one, the note, which was critical in the very end. And number two, the fork.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't given much credence to until we started to really examine the maps. And I began to feel, okay, yeah, there are a lot of forks on those maps. But then I realized there's one main fork. That's the key one. Why didn't she take that right-hand fork home?
Yeah, because that would be her usual route. Why detour that time of night?
Exactly, at that time of night. No doubt you wouldn't do that. And then I loved the idea that you saw an image and were able to actually draw it out for us of Ronald Light in that picture of Bella. That's cool. We haven't seen that demonstration from you before, so that was good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank God for the new iPad.
Yeah. Well, I hope you'll use it again.
Thank you for listening to Seeing Dead People, where goosebumps are guaranteed. We would love to hear from you with questions for Darcy about her psychic process or suggestions for other mystifying situations you would like us to investigate. Please shoot us an email to info@radiosydney.ca with seeing dead people in the subject line. New episodes air on our website, radiosydney.ca, on the first Saturday of every month. Episodes repeat Saturday nights at 8 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., both Pacific time. All episodes are available as downloadable podcasts at our website or on our YouTube channel, Nicola Furlong Mysteries. I'm Dorian Mortis, weirdly keen on seeing dead people.
This has been a program of Radio Sydney.